Part 34. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 332. Chapter 332, The Actions of the Old Men. Grandma, you think too much. Even if they come, they will bring their own things and cook by themselves, so we won't be tired. It's good to celebrate the new year together, it's quite lively. You think it's beautiful? That was last year. No, and when and the others arranged it last year. They did it? Do you dare to eat it? The old lady was a little excited. Don't they have a home of their own? Why do they want to come to our house? Humph, that's not possible. The old lady expressed her meaning clearly. It was the first time that Mei Shui saw her grandma so angry, so she smiled and said, "Okay, I will listen to grandma and I won't celebrate the new year with them this year." She was just teasing her grandma. "Xiaoxiu, I don't think we need to wait until the 15th day of the first lunar month to go to Mingcheng. I think we can go back early." Grandma, he has been really annoyed by that group of people recently. Especially those people who intentionally or unintentionally asked the old lady whether Xiaoxiu had any new prescriptions recently. The old lady has been pretending to be stupid to get over this matter, and ask Xiaoxiu to be careful about it. But after being with someone for a long time, there will always be a moment that cannot be counted, so it is better to leave as soon as possible. Mei Shui understands her grandma's thoughts. It just so happens that she should spend more time with the children and he ends outside these years. The family must be like a family. Okay, just listen to grandma. But Xiaoxiu, I think we should leave matters at home to your uncle Zhenbei. He is more and more stable now, the old lady praised sincerely. Meixiu was speechless. Are you sure it wasn't Uncle Zhenbei who was telling grandma behind her back to make her happy? Sure, it just so happens that Xiao Yi can help his father. Of course Mei Shui had no objection. Mr. Zhang overheard some of the conversations the old men had inadvertently, and these words were intentionally passed on to He Zhenbei by Mr. Zhang. No, within a few days of returning, people came to report him. Okay, anyway, our family only relies on the vegetables from the mountains and the fruits from the back mountains, and we don't make a lot of money from them. It's not like Ens can't support the family now. Yes, the old lady is being arrogant. Okay, just listen to grandma. What can she do? However, she couldn't stop taking action. She had better find some time to tell Uncle Zhenbei about her plan. After getting the result that she was satisfied with, grandma he happily went to the back mountain again. Looking at grandma's back, Mei Shui really couldn't laugh or cry. But grandma is right, we should get ready. Guang Xiao Yi definitely cannot do it alone. He is still young and cannot suppress some shameless people in the village. Just like this time, if he and Mei hadn't met Xiao Yi, would her family still dare to be so presumptuous? But why not give it to others? Who can have the ferocious aura of He Zhenbei, so I felt relieved to leave it to him, Mei Shui. The back hill also needs to be planned. She does not plan to expand the vegetable sales, but the fruit grove can be expanded. The fish pond also needs to be expanded. Of course, after Mei Shui heard the village chief talk about the reservoir contract last time, she disliked the fish pond in front of her house. If possible, she would like to contract the reservoir, even if someone in the village will catch some fish to eat, but the big head is not these small fish and shrimps. It took several days for Mei Shui to make up her own plan, planning to wait for He Ans to come back and talk to Uncle Zhenbei together. Now, she still went to find Mr. Mu, bought some medicinal materials, and made the weight loss pills. The Spring Festival of 1991 was coming soon, and Mei Shui finally finished all the things on hand. This year, according to my grandma's advice, I have no plans to invite anyone to my home to celebrate the new year. But what Mei Shui didn't expect was that none of An Wen and the four of them came back to celebrate the new year. Aunt Mei Lian and others came to the house to ask questions about this matter. Mei Shui understood that they were worried about their children. It was then that he and Young rushed back on the 29th of the new year. Xiao Mei, will An Liang and the others be okay in Beijing? Even if they received a call from them, the family was still worried. Don't worry, Aunt Milian, they are fine. The winery's business is good this year, and with the Chinese New Year, the business will be even better. The drunkard uncle in the village hasn't come back either, Mei Shui comforted her. But she was also happy for them, and they finally got the business going. That's right. Uncle Drunkard hasn't come back either. With him here, we can feel more at ease. Aunt Lanhua breathed a sigh of relief, mainly because Mei Shui's answer reassured her. So, what are you girls worrying about? The children have grown up and will have their own paths to walk in the future. What we have to do is help them see each other in advance so that we can have grandchildren. He said with a look of anticipation. Uncle Jensi was just there shaking his head and laughing. He Zhengting talks less now, but after hearing Mei Shui's words, he also put down the stone in his heart. Xiaoxiu, will you come to my house to celebrate the new year this year? He Zhengting invited. Grandma, he shook her head, don't make trouble for this matter. What will happen to the group of people in the back mountain when they move around? Grandma, he was on guard. Also, if you have something to do, don't go to the back mountain. Those people are different from us rural people. Grandma, he was afraid that some people in the village were not discerning. The four of them nodded together. We are keeping an eye on this matter on weekdays. Don't worry, third aunt, we will definitely not let anyone come over and disturb the old man and the others. That's good. At first, they were quite happy to come to congratulate her grandma and give her money. But now, she really hopes that they will leave the village quickly. They are a group of troublesome people. After the others left, Grandma, he looked outside. Xiaoxiu, when do you think they will leave? Mei Shui understood what Grandma meant. Don't worry, it won't take long. From what she heard from Xiaobai, Mei Shui knew that the old men wouldn't be able to live here for long. They are all powerful people after all, and they cannot remain so mediocre in their old age. Oh, did you hear something? Hians looked at his wife with a smile on his face. It's not news, you can tell by looking at the outsiders in the village recently. They are afraid that they will leave after the new year. After all, there is a big difference between the countryside and the capital. No wonder, Grandma, he thought thoughtfully, they paid rent for 3 consecutive years just to leave. She looked at Xiaoxiu with a surprised look. After thinking about it, Mei Shui shook her head. I don't know much about this, but it's a good thing. We just want to leave. It would be better if they paid the money. Mei Shui calmed down and said. Why, Grandma, he was a little confused. After they pay the rent, the house still belongs to them. Even if they take away the things inside, it will still be theirs. In this way, the restless people in the village will not dare to stretch out their hands. Mei Shui understood clearly. As soon as she mentioned those people, Grandma, he felt a surge of anger. Humph, I have never seen anyone more shameless than her. Mei Shui and Hians both know who this person is talking about. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 333. Chapter 333, Big Operation. Grandma, don't be angry, it's not the first day you've known what kind of person Grandma is. Hians comforted Grandma. Grandma, he was very angry, and some fragments flashed in her mind. Let's not talk about her, Ans, since we are leaving the village for a few days, we have to make arrangements. In this way, you and Xiaoxiu will come to see you later. Uncle Zhenbei goes to discuss it. Grandma, he was very happy that Mei Shui chose He Zhenbei, as evil people will be punished by evil people. Together with his wife, he can be said to be invincible in the village. Okay, let's go after lunch, Hians responded. Mei Shui made a simple lunch, 1 bone soup, 2 stir-fried dishes, and 1 vegetable. The children were still playing outside. As soon as the dishes were served, Grandma, he walked to the courtyard gate and shouted down the hill. Xiao, Xiaopeng, Xiaochang, you're coming back for dinner soon. If you don't come back, Don't come back, the voice screamed. If you get too close, your eardrums may be shattered. Xiaoxiu, you won't do anything big if you leave this time, right? Hians asked, looking at his uncomfortably looking wife. He broke into a cold sweat for himself, always feeling that his wife was surpassing his efforts every minute. Mei Shui raised her eyelids and asked, "Do you have any objections?" Then she turned around and said with a condescending expression, "If you don't have any objections, just hold it in for a while." It was rare to see his wife get angry with him. Hians felt that Xiaoxiu was getting more and more arrogant now. "Daughter-in-law, how could you do this? What if I hold it back?" Hians walked up to Xiaoxiu, leaned his head against her ear and teased softly. "It's okay, it's hard to find three-legged toads in the world, but two-legged men run all over the mountains." After saying that, Mei Shui turned around and left. After Hians helped Mei Shui settle all the matters in the village, he left first. The motorcade was getting busier and greener, and it was unrealistic for him to stay at home. After Hians left, Mei Shui explained some things to He Jianbei, and she also began to prepare to leave the village. It is still the first month, and people come to the door every day. This year, the main ones coming are those who buy seeds. Mei Shui increasingly felt that this was very troublesome and violated her original loyalty. Her dream was actually very simple, which was to own a farm of her own. "It's not like I worry about seeds every day. Grandma, I'm going to find Grandma Hua. I don't know when they will leave. I have to say hello to him first." Mei Shui thought about it all night. Finally, under Xiaobai's suggestion, she planned to use the seeds to purchase them. Like this way to continue. "Why don't you let go? The main reason is to hold on to these people. Once people become dishonest, whatever they are doing now will collapse immediately. A pot of fragrant porridge is something that many people miss, but once it is filled with rat droppings, it will be really bad. She doesn't want to play it so completely. Go ahead, isn't he always boasting that there are many things in their science and technology park that we have never seen before? You'd better bring them all, Grandma," he said with no anger on her face. Looking at the calculations on her grandma's face, Mei Shui understood clearly. "Don't worry, Grandma, I will definitely let the old man have nothing to hide." Hearing this, Grandma he felt relieved. "That's good, it's best to use his things to make a lot of money, and you won't be jealous of him to death. You must know that among the old men in Back Mountain, Mr. Hua's conditions are worse. Of course, Grandma he doesn't understand his family background, and there is no need to understand it. But she was still very happy to see him deflated. Who makes him always look proud? Mei Shui also has her own plans, but she is still happy to do things that make the old man frustrated. She likes to harm the delicate flowers in his yard most, so she doesn't feel too comfortable." Mei Shui arrived at Mr. Hua's house and heard laughter in the house. Mei Shui was a little confused, but the old man has guests at home. Mei Shui didn't want to go in. At this moment, Grandma Hua walked out, not knowing what she was doing. "Xiaoxiu, why are you here? What are you doing standing outside the house? Come on, come in." Seeing Mei Shui standing outside the door, the old lady looked excited. Old man, Xiaoxiu is here, why don't you come out quickly?" She was so excited that she shouted into the courtyard. "Grandma Hua, I've just arrived." Mei Shui was really afraid that the old man would run out to pick her up, which would cause trouble for those in the house. In the room, Mr. Hua stood up and walked out excitedly. Those people around him were all surprised. "Teacher, what's going on?" They were all very confused. "Who knows? Come on, let's go out and have a look. The road outside is so slippery, so don't throw the teacher down." As soon as he heard this, he knew that these people were Mr. Hua's students. Meixiu didn't know how many people would come out to greet her. Soon he saw a figure coming out. "Damn girl, I thought you wouldn't even come over to take a look at the old man after you left." After saying that, Mr. Hua's eyes were a little red. Mei Shui was a little embarrassed. Well, Grandma Hua, please slow down, the road is slippery among the old men. Perhaps Mei Shui liked him and Mr. Wu the most. The two of them have more pure thoughts. Mr. Shi was not bad in the past, but since his health has improved, Mei Shui can clearly feel the changes in him. She has a very strong sense of both people and objects. Huh, now you know you care about me, why did you go there earlier, the old man said tremblingly. Meixiu had no choice but to approach him and said, Grandpa Hua, don't cry. I'm here. Humph, when did I cry? After saying that, he wiped his eyes with his own hands. Stop talking nonsense, are you going to leave again now? They also plan to leave Hejiakan, but are also ready to come back again. After all, they all have their families in Kyoto, and it is impossible not to go back, but they still regard this place as their second home. The feeling of reluctance is still very strong. Mei Shui's expression became a little strange. Old man, are you really crying? She had just stared at the old man's eyes seriously. Smelly girl, you are very bad. After saying that, he immediately brushed off Mei Shui's hand, turned around and walked back into the house. The people behind him were a little confused, and none of them knew what was wrong with the teacher. All looked at Mei Shui. Meixiu didn't know these people, so she followed the old man into the main room without even giving them a good look. Grandma Hua didn't go out either. She had gone out to find Xiaoxiu, and she happened to be here. What are you looking at? Come back to the house quickly. Aren't you cold? Everyone is old but not wise. Looking at the old man and these students, Mrs. Hua said angrily. In the main room, Mei Shui and the old man were sitting on separate sides. Tell me, when are you leaving? Seeing that he had been silent, Mei Shui had no choice but to speak first. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 334. Chapter 334, Mr. Hua's Student. Mr. Hua turned his head away and his mustache curled up. You could tell that his mood had recovered. If you don't say anything, I'll leave. I'll leave the village tomorrow and go to Mingcheng to celebrate the 15th. Mei Shui teased. Hearing this, the old man snorted coldly. I knew there was no good reason for your coming. Then he sighed again. Old man, I have to leave in a few days. His words were full of reluctance, but no matter how reluctant he was, he had to leave. The explosion in Kyoto did not hit these people, but it had some impact. Now those people have been rectified. The Academy of Agricultural Sciences should also take action, not for officials, but for the people. Oh, expected. You just say oh, are you not reluctant at all? The old man became angry again. Just then the old lady came in with a group of people. What are you angry about? You might get sick. The old lady gave her husband a strange look. Xiaoxiu, please ignore him, he is just such a virtuous person. By the way, did you come to see your Grandpa Hua today for something? The old lady said, breaking the atmosphere. Mei Shui nodded. Well, I wanted to talk to Grandma Hua about something. What's the matter? When the old man heard that something happened to him, he immediately became interested. You said there are a lot of new things in your yard. Now most people in the village are growing vegetables. I'm thinking of planting some of the new varieties you mentioned to try after spring. He was straightforward. When he heard this, the old man was of course happy. They have been promoting these new products to other countries, and they are better than the previous ones in terms of output and taste. The quantity is also larger, but it still takes time to accept these things. Besides, they cannot mass produce them for experimentation. At this time, a middle-aged man spoke up before the old man. Little girl, are you serious? He was in charge of this area, and he came here just to talk to the old man about it. Unexpectedly, the old man didn't promise not to tell, and asked him to talk to others himself, but how could he do this? A thought came to his mind. Teacher, is she the girl Mei Shui you mentioned? As soon as the group of people at the Academy of Agricultural Sciences heard the word Mei Shui, their eyes lit up. Because? Haha, no, so if you have any good stuff, come out with new stuff as soon as possible. The old lady finally figured it out. The old man wanted to get Joe. Mei Shui was speechless. Is she so famous? After receiving the old lady's approval, these people all sat down next to Mei Shui. Everyone opened their mouths and talked about the products on their hands. I have a newly grafted low peach tree here, and we have also grown this fruit. The taste is definitely dozens of times better than ordinary peaches, and it also saves labor. I have new varieties of vegetables that are newly produced here, and some that are not available on the market. I have some here too, you see, I brought samples. Everyone gathered around Mei Shui to introduce her. Meixiu was speechless, but it just so happened that she came here for this very reason. The fruit tree is almost planted on the mountains, but the vegetables are the first. She reached out and took the vegetable information from the person introducing it. I'll take a look at the vegetables first, and the rest will have to wait. If it was good, she wouldn't mind learning more about it. Mei Shui looked at her very seriously, and the people around her didn't dare to make too much noise. They all stared at her. After reading it, Mei Shui smiled. Do you have all the vegetable varieties you wrote about here? Yes, they are all new varieties. The yield is also large, much better than what is grown now. They are all there, they are all there. I don't know how much you want. I didn't bring much this time, just dozens of kilograms of seeds. Each one is about the same weight. This man is the oldest among Mr. Hua's students. Bit. It is conceivable that he has been studying these for a long time. Okay, you can sell them all to me, I want them all. Mei Shui felt that this time she might not be able to leave the village for a while. Little girl, look at me. The fruit from my low fruit tree is much better than the one now. Another person took advantage of the opportunity. And mine. So there was another round of looting. Eventually quieted down under the old man's suppression. Mei Shui looked at the fruit trees and so on and thought they were pretty good, but she really didn't have time to manage them now. The money invested before this was too large, and the income was not proportional. Mei Shui felt that it would be enough to grow something for home use, but she would not have the time to do business. However, he also gave him a clear answer and asked him to find Xiao Yi. Then it would be okay to let Xiao Yi take responsibility. What interests Xiaoxiu the most is a fish farmer. Is this really possible? Do you have any fry to sell these fish to me? Mei Shui was really concerned about the fish pond. It's not about eating, but she likes to raise fish and put some other fish in it to make it a beautiful sight in her villa. They are all available, we have all kinds of fry. A man who looked to be in his 30s said shyly. He thought he had little hope, but he didn't expect that he would be favored. Have you ever tried raising fish in rice fields? Mei Shui felt that this could be left to the village chief. Actually, these people have never tried it in the countryside. Unfortunately, no one believes that they do not tell, and they also say that they harm the rice seedlings. This made them a little sad. It has been tested and it works, but no one believes it, the man said, a little embarrassed. Well, let me discuss it with the village chief. It just so happens that there are still a few months before transplanting the rice seedlings. Mei Shui felt that the village chief would definitely agree. Really, is it really possible? The man was a little excited. People around are also very envious. No matter how high-ranking they are, whether they are professors or researchers, once the people do not accept what they have researched, it is all in vain. Really, but I have to trouble you to come over then, or find someone to teach the villagers how to breed. Mei Shui expressed her meaning. That's no problem. I'll come over in person when the time comes. Having said this, he looked at the teacher with some embarrassment. Teacher, Can I stay with you then? If possible, I'm afraid he will take root here in the next 2 years. Okay, Mr. Hua also had a smile on his face at this time. He felt very accomplished when he saw that the results were accepted. But is your wife willing? It's okay, she is willing. Seeing that the matter was settled, Mr. Hua introduced it to Mei Shui seriously. Xiaoxiu, this is my student. You can just call him Brother Du. He mainly studies how to increase fish production. If you are interested, you can learn from him. The old man knew that Xiaoxiu had always wanted to raise fish and make a fish pond, but he didn't know how she did it. No matter how she raised the fish would never die. He also felt that the medicinal fish was very useful. In this regard, he just wanted Xiao Du to learn from Xiao Shui, which was probably his selfish intention. If you have a vote, please vote. If you don't have a vote, please subscribe. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 335. Chapter 335, Experiment, please vote for me, please vote for recommendations. Mixue didn't know that her craftsmanship was being taken into consideration. That's a good feeling. I'm thinking of opening some big fish ponds in the back mountains here. If Brother Du is willing, I'd love it. Well, he is very happy about fish farming. The old man now has the mentality of being appreciated by others for his own treasure. Show off. Here, don't you want vegetables? His surname is Shen. Just call him Uncle Shen. You can find him for any vegetables you want. I have told you before that the vegetable yield in the village is too low. The old man said it many times, but Mei Shui ignored him. And his surname is Li, you can call him Uncle Li anyway, he looks quite old. He is responsible for the grafted fruit trees in the courtyard. The old man did not hide his secrets at all and introduced these people to Mei Shui one by one. And his students were also very competitive, and everything they came up with was approved by Mei Shui. Mei Shui thanked the old man and said she would give him some gifts when he left, and then she was able to coax him away. After leaving, Mei Shui went home and planned to discuss leaving the village with her grandma. There is no way, who made her attracted to those things. However, Mei Shui felt that it was best for grandma to take Xiao and the others to Mingcheng, but after thinking about it, grandma would not agree. No, as soon as she said it, grandma denied it. Impossible, how can I let you stay at home alone? I don't agree. The old lady was a little excited. Grandma, don't be excited. If you don't want to, forget it. Let's do this. I'll ask Uncle Jiannan to take Xiao to Mingcheng tomorrow. He will start school soon. It's not good to stay at home all the time. Mei Shui had a headache. She didn't know how to explain it to Xiao later, so she agreed to accompany him to school, but now. Well. You, think about it as soon as you think about it. Fortunately, it doesn't take too much time. You can finish it in the second half of the year. Grandma he had no way to deal with Xiaoxiu. I don't know why she likes growing vegetables, trees, and fish ponds so much. Grandma, after the foundation is laid, we can go home and take care of ourselves in the future. I don't want to stay in the city all my life, and if something happens, I will die without a burial place. You must know that whether it is a virus or a war, the first place to break out is the city. Especially those first-tier cities with dense population. Once something happens, it will be a big deal. Wherever it is like a village, no matter how chaotic the situation is outside, it will not affect it. Everyone wants to go to the city, but you want to go back to the countryside every day. Grandma he hated her uncle so much. Isn't this world all started in the countryside? With the matter settled, Mei Shui went to Uncle Jiannan and told him about sending Xiao to Mingcheng tomorrow. Jiannan certainly has no objection. After Uncle Jiannan agreed, Mei Shui immediately asked Xiao Yi to go to the village chief and ask him to come over and discuss anything. When we returned home, Xiao and the others were back. Looking at Xiao's red eyes, Mei Shui felt very remorseful. Xiao, I'm sorry, Mom is going to break her promise, but don't worry, after Mom finishes all these things, she will definitely accompany you to school. Mai Xiu knew she was in the wrong, and she didn't dare to face Xiao's disappointed face. But Xiao is very sensible, Mom is fine, your things are more important. Hearing this, Mei Shui's eyes became sore. I'm sorry. After hugging Xiao, Mei Shui apologized. It's okay, Mom, really, I can take care of myself by myself. Xiao felt much better when he saw his mother like this. Well, he thought he had no place in his mother's heart, but now it seems that he still has a place. Then I'll give Xiao a hard time for 1 year. Mom promises that she will always accompany you when you grow up. When you get married, Mom will come back to take care of you in old age. Mei Shui made up her mind. So Xiao smiled. This matter can be regarded as comforting Xiao, but thinking that there is another person in Mingcheng who needs to be comforted by herself, Mei Shui has a headache. As soon as the village chief came over, Mei Shui pulled him into the back mountain and took him to see Brother Du. Of course, there is no rush about the vegetables. Let's start with their house this year. Also, she wants to experiment to see if the seeds can be soaked in space water to achieve the same effect. Her space should be used to grow medicinal materials, forget about growing vegetables, as Xiaobai said, it is a waste. Of course, Xiaobai and Xiaohong also did some things that made Mei Shui dumbfounded. They stole many precious flowers and plants from Mr. Hua. The best one among them is the camellia, which has pink flowers and 16 branches. I have to say that Mei Shui was shocked. Later on, Xiaobai did this a lot more, and now she has all the flower seeds from Mr. Hua's place in her space, and all of them have mutated. If you take it out, it will definitely scare the old man to death. Mei Shui never took it for the sake of the old man. After hearing this, the village chief looked unconvinced and asked, "Are you sure the fish won't eat all the seedlings?" Looking at the village chief's appearance, Jun Song seemed to be very normal, and it seemed that he had been suspected of this for a long time. "Uncle, why don't we give it a try? If it works, it will also increase the income for the villagers. It's also your contribution." Mei Shui had to join in. The village chief looked at Xiaoxiu and saw the seriousness in her eyes. "Is your family going to try it first?" He was a little unsure. Without thinking, Mei Shui nodded and agreed, "I have no objection. If uncle believes me, you can raise some. Don't worry, if you ruin the rice seedlings, Grandpa Hua will pay you for it." Hearing this, the old man quit. "Why should I pay?" "Because Brother Du is your student, the teacher is not responsible for the student's mistakes." Mei Shui rolled her eyes at the old man. The village chief smiled and said, "That's a good relationship. Just give it a try. I don't have much land, only 5 or 6 acres. Rice is calculated at 70 cents per caddy. Old man, I'll trouble you then." He, this village chief is really a man who never suffers any loss. Juniper was a little embarrassed. "Well, if the fish eats all your rice seedlings, I will pay for the loss." He couldn't do anything to ask the teacher to pay for it. What a pity, his face is not big enough. The village chief looked in disbelief. "I don't know you, and I'm not familiar with you. What will happen if you run away?" After arguing for a while, the village chief finally agreed and said that he would go find a few more families to save everyone from believing it. Mei Shui has no objection, she just cares about herself. The village chief is responsible for matters in the village. The next day, he Jinan took Xiao out of the village. When he left, Xiao cried. Fortunately, after the car started, Xiao's crying stopped. In this regard, he Jinan envied Heans for having such an obedient eldest son. This year Heans is also 26, and his 2 biological sons are also 3 years old. The eldest son is also 9 years old, half a grown man. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 336. Chapter 336, Qualitative Change. Xiao, don't be reluctant. You will come back after your vacation. How can the education in the village be better than that in the city? Your parents are doing it for your own good, he Jinnan comforted Xiao. Xiao didn't understand the kindness of his parents, he was just a little reluctant to let go. I know, Grandpa Jinnan, I just can't let go of my mother and wife. Well, no matter how reluctant you are, you have to give it up. Just wait until you grow up. Then just be more filial to your parents who don't want their children to be well. I will definitely be filial to my parents and my wife from now on, Xiao said seriously. In this regard, he Jinnan believed him that the children taught by his third aunt would not be bad. Xiao's departure left Xiaopeng and Xiaocheng missing for several days. Meixiu has been very busy these days and has no time to take care of them. Fortunately, Xiao Yi is here and she finally calms down after taking them running around the village. As soon as the 15th day of the first lunar month passed, Mei Shui started to hire people. The land on the mountain had to be plowed, and the work in the fields was handed over to Uncle Zhenbei. However, the mountain goods after the new year in the village also had to be harvested. For a while, Uncle Zhenbei was too busy to keep his feet off the ground, and Aunt Yang complained every day that all the work in the family fields was hers alone. Mei Shui can only invite more people, otherwise she will be too busy. Perhaps what happened to he and Mia last year sounded the alarm for everyone. Mei Shui said at that time that if anyone was selling takeout, they should not come to her house to buy seeds. No, as soon as the people here finished asking for seeds, the seed buyers came to her door. This year, she bought a lot of new seeds from Uncle Shen and planned to push them out. Her family alone would not be able to plant them all. It's a pity that many people are not willing to try it, and Mei Shui doesn't force it. Aunt Zillian and the others bought a lot and went back. Meixiu invited them privately, and the price of these vegetables was much higher than what she usually grows. Hung Mei also bought a lot of it. The surrounding area where pigs are raised can be used to grow vegetables. 1 or 2 cents is money, and she will not dislike having a lot of money. Ma Liming's furniture store business is getting better and better, and the store is not like before. He does all the work by himself and hires a lot of masters. It can be seen that he is a businessman. Also insists on coming back every day to spend time with his wife and children. His children go to school in the village and completely regard this place as their own little home. The house is almost fully repaired and we are just waiting to move in after spring. It's a pity that we didn't wait to return to Anwen and the others this year, otherwise the whole family would be even happier. It took about 10 days, and the work was almost the same. Mei Shui left a few women behind to do the work. These people were not from their own village. They were all relatives from the next village or some families. After these people stayed, Mei Shui began to sow seeds. The seeds were soaked for more than 10 days, but fortunately they did not sprout. It was the first time and I didn't have much experience. The seeds given to Aunt Zillian and the others were all unsoaked. As Uncle Shen said, these new varieties were already very good, and Mei Shui did not dare to make them too different. On the other hand, she is not afraid of the changes in her own land, because Xiaobai said that because she has provided space water for a long time, it has mutated long ago, and she is not afraid of people coming to check. Xiaobai, if we don't add spatial water to the pit on the mountain now, won't the fruits and vegetables on the mountain be affected? Mei Shui was still a little worried. This year, she didn't leave any land for Qianxiang and the others, and they planted all new varieties. No, Master, have you not noticed that our land is fatter than other people's land in the village? There is also spiritual energy growing in it, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a low-grade spiritual field, Xiaobai said with a proud face. That's the best. This will reduce the use of space, and you won't be afraid of being discovered. What Mei Shui fears most is the exposure of space. Xiao Bai is no longer so worried about this matter. Don't worry, no one will find out for sure. As long as you don't use it in person, master, now you have less and less space to use, except for the medicinal materials you and He-Ans use to practice medicine. You don't even need to use space. Such a stable life is fascinating. I know, but Xiaobai, how long have Xiaohong been sleeping this time? Before the new year, Xiaohong fell into a deep sleep before Mei Shui came back, and Mei Shui took it into the space as soon as she came back. I don't know, they snakes are about to shed their skin, and I'm not a snake. How do I know? Xiaobai also felt lonely after losing a playmate. What about the other red snakes in the space? Are there none with intelligence? Mei Shui felt a little confused. It stands to reason that the longer you stay in the space, the thicker the spiritual energy will be, but those snakes don't have any intelligence at all. This is the limit of the way of heaven. Master, don't think about it. You can get me and Xiaohong because you have accumulated good fortune in your previous life. It is impossible to produce a large number of spiritual beasts nowadays. The way of heaven is becoming more and more important. Overbearing. There is really no loophole to be found. I don't know where it will go in the future. Mei Shui has no worries about Xiaobai at all. She died and was reincarnated, and Xiaobai is still alive. Worrying about her might as well worry about herself. We will go out to search in the future, and maybe we can find your companions, but for now, Xiaobai, go and warn the animals in the back mountains so that they don't come to ruin my vegetable patch. Vegetables were planted. Looking at the bare hills, Mei Shui imagined what they would look like when they were harvested. Okay, after a while, Xiaobai disappeared. In this world, the person she loves most is her grandma, but the person she should be most grateful to is Xiaobai. It gave her a deeper confidence and allowed her to understand that every era has its strength. Even now she cannot go against the entire country. Of course, it's good to be a peasant wife. After the vegetables are planted at home, spring has begun, and the fields have to start getting busy. Like this place in Nan province, it is not a flat area. Everything is mechanized. Here, we still rely on manpower and oxen. Buffalo and cattle are the main labor force. Grandma, whose cow should we borrow this year? They don't raise cows at home. Let's borrow it from Uncle Zhengsong. His family has 3 cows. You can give me some money when the time comes. Grandma, he thought for a while and said. Yes, but Grandma, do we really not raise cows at home? In fact, Mei Shui wanted to raise cattle, but her grandma wouldn't let her. Don't know why. I don't have any more. It's very convenient to borrow from people in the village. Grandma, he sighed, and finally shook her head. His man is born in the year of the ox, and she doesn't want him to work any longer. Okay, but last time I heard that Rong was pregnant. I don't know when we will hold a banquet. I heard someone in the village say it last time. No matter when, they will come home to report the news. Are you afraid that you won't be able to get the money out? Grandma, he smiled slightly. Li Fei is really kind to He Rong. He Rong's life is no worse than that of He Jiao. Compared with his mother-in-law, He Rong's life is better. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 337. Chapter 337, Fruit Wine. Mother-in-law is not a meddlesome person. She is honest and hard-working and talks little. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law get along very well. Sometimes it makes Aunt Zhengsong jealous. Of course these were said by the villagers and heard by Mei Shui and Grandma He. Xiang Yang, who got married before Li Fei, became a father long ago, and now he has taken his wife to Ming Cheng. His childhood is a blessing. He Jianbei was of course asked to arrange the work of plowing the fields. After Mei Shui had nothing to do, she took Xiaopeng and the others to catch eels in the fields. "Mom, can I go to the fields?" Xiaopeng and Xiaocheng were very excited as they walked to the fields. They have all done fishing for hammerfish and flipping crabs in summer, but they have never gone to the fields to catch eels. "Don't worry, my sister-in-law is very powerful. I can't find anyone in the village who is better than my sister-in-law." Xiao Wei admired his sister-in-law. He was kind enough to tell Xiaopeng and Xiaocheng what happened that year. He was not afraid of embarrassment at all and even talked about stealing eels. The two little guys were dumbfounded after hearing this. "Uncle Xiao Ei, you actually stole mom's things, you are a bad boy." Xiaopeng looked unoffended. Xiaocheng also felt that Uncle Xiao Wei was bad, so he immediately let go of his hand and said, "Bad uncle." Mei Shui held the bucket in her hand and knocked Liang's head angrily. "Your uncle Xiao Ei has corrected it a long time ago. You can't say that. It's not terrible for people to make mistakes. What's terrible is that they know their mistakes and don't correct them." That's right, that's right." Xiao Ei was still a little guilty, but after hearing his sister-in-law's words, he became more confident. "I knew I was wrong a long time ago, and I have never done anything bad again. Even the eggs from the next door house are mine, none of it was stolen." Meixiu was speechless. "Can you make a living? You can even steal eggs, this child." "Oh, Uncle Xiao Ei, you have also stolen other people's eggs." "Whose eggs are they?" Xiaocheng's eyes lit up. He thought this was very funny. Xiaopeng took his younger brother's hand and said, "Don't mess around, or mommy will spank you," he whispered in his younger brother's ear, biting his ear. Would Mei Shui not be able to hear it? "Xiao Ei, walk faster. If you wait a little longer, your dad will plow the land. There has been water in the fields for several days. Once it becomes muddy, it will be difficult to plow the eels. Today is destined to be a good harvest day. After a year of growth, the eels in the field are all very fat. I didn't ask for the small Mei Shui, I only took the ones worth 3 taels or more. There was a big bucket, and her family couldn't finish it, so they sent some to Grandma Meng and the others. Finally, a bucket of eels was used up. Some people are envious of it, but this kind of thing is something you and I both want to do, so we can't envy it. After the fields are plowed, they will be fattened, and when the rice is harvested, there will be a bumper harvest of eels. Grandma, let's eat eel and loach tonight, and stir-fry green vegetables." Mei Shui arranged dinner. "Sure, I'll listen to you, but Xiaoxiu, did you put some wine in the cellar of your old house? The fragrance is coming out these days. I don't know if it's a matter of the wind direction, but the fragrance is passed down from home to family every day." Hearing Grandma talk about wine, Mei Shui seemed to think of the fruit wine she had been making for 2 years. "Grandma, look at the fire. I'll go over and have a look." She also smelled the fragrance, but she didn't expect it to come up here. Looking at Xiaoxiu's furious look, there was nothing he could do to deal with her. "Be careful." Mei Shui ran out of the yard long ago. When she went to the yard of the old house, she met Grandma Mu. Grandma Mu, when she saw the person, Mei Shui's steps slowed down. "You kid, why are you running in such a hurry?" Grandma Mu's vegetable field is next to the old house, and she is returning from picking vegetables. "I'm going to the old house to have a look." "Grandma Mu is cooking dinner," Mei Shui said very naturally, as if she was not the anxious person before. "Yes, your Grandpa Mu went to the second team today, and I don't know when he will come back." Alas, life in the village was easy, but she was always running up and down, and she was also worried about her husband. Mei Shui was stunned. No wonder she didn't see Grandpa Mu calling Xiaopeng and the others today. It turned out they were going out. "It's okay. If you don't come back by dinner time, let Xiao Ei and Uncle Jinnan look for him." She often travels around for medical treatment, and Mei Shui is used to the old man's behavior. Grandma Mu was worried every day. "I think so too. Hey, tell me, when can this village recruit a doctor from the mountain? I can't always take your Grandpa Mew to him when he's sick, it's so far away. Knowing that she was worried about Grandpa Mew, Mei Shui smiled and said nothing, listening to Grandma Mew venting, but it was true that one more village doctor was needed, and it was really inconvenient to go up and down the mountain. Let's talk to the village chief about this. He can't ignore the several brigades on the mountain. Mei Shui came up with an idea. Why didn't you say it? But those people say that your Grandpa Mew has good medical skills, but as for your Grandpa Mew, 2 cups of horse urine will make him confused. Alas, what can I do if my man doesn't live up to his expectations? Okay, I won't tell you anymore. You go and do your work. I have to go find your Uncle Genbei when the meal is ready. Grandma Mew waved her hand and opened the back door of the yard and walked in. Mei Shui also opened the courtyard door of the old house. He didn't even open the front door and walked directly to the backyard. The cellar is in the backyard, against the mountain. There was a lock on the door. Mei Shui took out the key and opened it. When she walked to the door, the fragrance was very strong. She knew that the fruit wine was successful. When she was making wine, she seemed to have poured a cup of space water into each jar. Looking at it now, good stuff. The smell inside is stronger and the wine is more mellow. If anyone who doesn't drink comes in, he will probably get drunk. Looking at the first few jars that were sealed, after opening them, the smell was really mouth-watering. Mei Shui took out a water glass from the space water without saying anything. The taste when the wine enters the throat. It's so fragrant and delicious. Naturally, the first thing that came to her mind was her grandma. Without saying a word, Mei Shui just picked up a jar of wine and walked out. The alcohol content of these fruit wines is not high, but the alcoholic taste is strong and mellow, and the taste does not taste like fruit wine at all. Grandma must like it very much. Mei Shui locked the door and walked quickly home. When passing Grandma Mew's house, she thought about sending some to Grandpa Mew later. Since the people in the back mountain have left, they are not afraid to share it with others. Mr. Zhang also needs to send some to him. During the Chinese New Year, he and Yang came back and wanted to take the old man to Shenzhen City, but the old man didn't want to, saying that the village was very nice and he lived very comfortably. Since the old men left, Mr. Zhang and Mr. Mew have been getting together. Calm is calmness, and the best thing is peace of mind. The He Zhenbei family completely treated Mr. Zhang as their own. Grandma, good stuff, good stuff. Mei Shui was a little happy today and shouted loudly into the courtyard. What good stuff, Grandma? He walked out of the kitchen and met Xiaoxiu head on. Wow, it smells so good. The taste, that's it. Xiaoxiu, what kind of wine is this? Forgot to set the time last night. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 338. Chapter 338, Poor Duo. Fruit wine. Mei Shui was also happy to get her grandma's approval. As soon as the wine vat was put down, Xiao Peng and Xiao Chen gathered around. Mom, can my brother and I have a drink? The two of them have been troubled by those old men since they were young. They have already tasted wine, but it is not that fragrant. No. Without thinking, Mei Shui rejected them. Grandma, he has a sharp eye and drinks directly from the bowl. One sip, good wine. Looking at Grandma like that, Mei Shui was happy. Grandma, please drink less. This wine is very heavy. A large tank weighs almost 50 kilograms. Of course, there are still some fruit shells and so on in it. Mei Shui has to get these out. First pour out the wine and put it in buckets. These buckets were all bought by her and were used to hold wine. When the family stopped making wine, these barrels were emptied. Now it comes in handy. Grandma, I'm going to deliver a bucket to Grandma Mew's house, and I'll deliver another bucket to Grandpa Zhang tomorrow, and we'll keep the rest for our own consumption. She liked the taste, so she didn't plan to give it to anyone else. Okay, but you have to give your Uncle Gensi and the others a few points. Otherwise they will get angry with you, Grandma, he thought for a while and said with a smile. Meixiu knew clearly, there is some, but not as much as the old man and the others. There was indeed a lot of wine, but she had to hide some of it. Go in a moment. After delivering the wine, Mei Shui and her grandma started drinking together. That's a very pleasant experience. Grandma, let's have another drink. Mei Shui gathered the cups and said, thank you, Grandma, for not abandoning me and taking me in. I don't know if the wine was too strong, but Mei Shui lost her usual composure. Don't dislike it, don't dislike it. How can you dislike my Xiaoxiu? Grandma likes it and doesn't rush it. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng looked at each other and said, brother, are Mom and Grandma drunk? The two of them are as big as brats. Xiao Peng looked at this and that, and finally nodded, yes, they are drunk. Possibly because she heard the conversation between the two little guys, Mei Shui became dissatisfied. You brat, what are you talking about? Your mother will make me drunk. After saying that, she drank another large glass of wine. Grandma, he felt a little dizzy and couldn't finish a large glass. When she saw Mei Shui raising her glass to drink, she instinctively followed her and took a sip. Xiaoxiu, I can't do it anymore, I can't do it anymore, Grandma is drunk. Hearing that Grandma said she was drunk, Mei Shui had no intention of teaching them a lesson. Grandma, come on, I'll take you back to the house. Meixiu herself was a little dizzy, so she helped her grandma into her room by instinct. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng quietly packed up the kitchen. Forget about washing the dishes, but clearing the table is still very simple. As for Meixiu, after seeing her grandma sleeping, she completely forgot about the two children and went to Java. I went upstairs directly. As soon as Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng came out of the kitchen, they saw their mother going upstairs. The two looked at each other. Brother, I think Mom doesn't remember us. I felt a little aggrieved. Xiao Peng patted his brother on the head and comforted, Mom was drunk, she didn't forget us. Well, he felt a little uncomfortable too. Then let's close the door. I want to sleep with my wife tonight, Xiao Cheng said sadly. Good. When Hians came back, the stars in the sky were all out. Well, I don't know what's going on at home. What he cared about in Mingcheng was his family. The same goes for Xiao, who has become much quieter recently. Except for Xiao Peng, who could say a few words to him, it was difficult for anyone else to get close to him. When Xiao came back, he helped his mother bring over what the little fat mother asked for. It was a big bag. He didn't know what was in it, but it smelled like medicine anyway. However, Aunt Hu was very excited when she got it, and she didn't know what was so exciting about these pills. Every time she took them, she felt a pain, and he didn't think they tasted good. On the road there was only the sound of the engine and tires pressing against the dirt road. Hians felt like returning home like an arrow. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng quickly fell asleep while holding their wives. When Hians came back, he found that the house was dark, but he felt very satisfied. He went directly to the second floor from the outside without alerting anyone. Upstairs, he found that Xiaoxiu's door was locked from behind, but he didn't care. He directly opened it manually. At this time, he discovered that internal force is really a good thing. You cannot do anything without internal strength. Hians entered the room and called twice, but Mei Shui didn't respond at all. She was sleeping so soundly that she wouldn't even know if someone had moved her away. Of course, he also knew that Xiaoxiu was very wary and not everyone could get close to him. After getting closer, Hians was dumbfounded when he saw the person on the bed. Standing beside the bed, he smelled a strong smell of alcohol. Seeing this, Hians had no choice but to change clothes first and went to bed without even washing his face. After hugging the person on the bed, I felt at ease. How come the couple can only hug and kiss each other when they are together? But this night, Hian saw a different kind of wife. Don't move, let me do it. Mei Shui didn't even know what she was doing. she just felt that it was not enough. Hien smiled, let go of the hand holding her, and turned over to lie down. Okay, you come. Mei Shui didn't know how Hien's felt, but she only knew that she felt comfortable. What a pity. She doesn't care about others when she feels comfortable. How could Hien's let her go? The process is not important, remember. The next day, Grandma he got up late. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng were both hungry, but his wife and mother hadn't gotten up yet. The two people who had just finished practicing the exercises looked up at the sky. Xiao Cheng, let's go to Grandma Mei's house, Xiao Peng said, stroking his growling belly and pulling his brother. Of course Xiao Cheng had no objection. Well, brother, let's go. This is the beauty of the village. If your family has something to do, you can still go to the house next door to make a living. If you were in the city, there would be fewer people opening the door. Aunt Milian had just finished feeding the chickens at home when she heard the voices of Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng. Why are you here? Where are your wife and mother? Aunt Milian was a little surprised. My wife and mother haven't gotten up yet. They drank a lot of wine last night, Xiao Cheng complained with an unhappy look on his face. It's really difficult for these 2-3-year-old children. Have you had breakfast yet? Aunt Mei Lian asked. They both shook their heads. No one, Grandma Mei, I'm so hungry. Xiao Cheng looked aggrieved. Okay, come here with Grandma, let's go inside and have dinner. Looking at their aggrieved looks, Aunt Milian's heart melted. Hien's went a little crazy last night, and when he woke up it was already bright outside. Mei Shui slept soundly holding the quilt, and Hien's didn't intend to wake her up. Get up from the bed gently. When Hien's finished packing and went downstairs, he found it so quiet downstairs that he felt terrible. What should I do if the author also wants to drink? Can I take a day off? Please give me a vote. It's the beginning of the month, everyone, please hurry up, otherwise the author will not recommend it. Wow, how pitiful. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 339. Chapter 339, Drunk Duo. Grandma, Xiao Peng, Xiao Cheng. Hien's felt very uneasy and started to shout. However, before he could hear the sound in the house, the echoes of Xiao Peng and others came from the courtyard. Dad, are you back? The two of them had just returned from breakfast at Grandma Mei's house. Before they got home, they heard their father's shout. Xiao Peng, Xiao Cheng, where have you been? Hearing the sound outside, Hien's turned around and ran out. When he saw his two sons, he immediately hugged them into his arms. Where have you been? Where's the wife? Why isn't the wife at home? Hien's asked anxiously. My wife is sleeping in the room. My wife and my mother drank a lot yesterday. My father, mother, and my wife ignored me and Xiao Cheng. We are so hungry. Thinking of last night, Xiao Peng, no matter how strong he was, couldn't help but cry. Stand up. When Xiao Cheng saw his brother say, he also cried, oh, Mom doesn't even remember us, Mom doesn't want me anymore. Crying is called sad. Okay, Dad is back, don't cry. Seeing the two of them crying sadly, Hien's also felt sad. Do you know why my mother and wife drink? He was bullied in the village as his daughter-in-law. Yesterday, my wife and mother found that there was still wine at home, so they drank. The little kid didn't think as much as adults, and he said what he saw and understood. Hearing what was going on, Hien's calmed down. As long as it's okay, it'll be okay. After coaxing the child, Hien's went to take a look at his grandma's room. Seeing that her grandma was sleeping soundly, he did not wake her up. After leaving the room, Hien's asked, where did you two go just now? The adults were not accompanying these two little things. We are hungry. Let's go find Grandma May and have breakfast at Grandma May's house, Xiao Cheng said matter-of-factly. Xiao Peng also agreed. I originally wanted to go to Grandma Eleven's house, but there is no one at Grandma Eleven's house. Okay, these two little guys are good at it. Hians now realizes why Xiaoxiu likes to stay in the village so much. Fortunately, it's in the village. If you go out in the future, remember to tell your family, otherwise my mother and wife won't see how sad and scared you are when they get up. Hians never forgot to educate them. Oh, we won't do it again. The two of them are also sensible children. By the way, Dad, where's Mom? Is Mom still sleeping in? Xiao Cheng asked immediately when his dad came downstairs but didn't see his mom. Xiao Peng also stared at the stairs. Mom drank too much last night and is still sleeping. Can I take you to play after Dad washes his face and makes breakfast? Let's coax the children first. Hian's arrival was not welcomed by his family members, but he was still very satisfied. I had enough food last night. He took the children to the place where the vegetables were collected. After seeing that the people he brought were doing well, Hians had nothing to do, so he took the children to play directly. When Mei Shui got up, she found that her whole body felt very uncomfortable, as if she had been crushed. No man is good. She might not have reacted at first, but later she almost sobered up, so of course she knew who was back. After coming downstairs, Mei Shui immediately went to her grandma's room. After seeing her grandma sleeping soundly, Mei Shui felt relieved. I went to the kitchen and took a look. The pots were so clean that even mice didn't want to visit them. She had no choice but to make something to eat first. Otherwise, what would happen if Grandma wakes up and is hungry later? By the time Hians came back with the children, Mei Shui had just prepared lunch. Hearing the sounds in the courtyard, he knew they were back. It smells so good, Daddy, Mommy is up. The two little guys immediately abandoned their daddy. Hians shook his head and smiled bitterly. You two heartless little guys, he scolded with a smile. Mei Shui woke up her grandma during lunch. Fortunately, she had added space water to the wine, otherwise Grandma would have felt worse after drinking so much. Grandma, you can't drink like this anymore, Mei Shui preached to her grandma seriously. Grandma, he looked helpless. Xiaoxiu, we have to be conscientious when we talk. Wasn't it me who wanted to drink yesterday? Humph. Meixiu was stunned. Grandma, even if I ask you to drink, you can't drink. People need to be self-aware. Yes, I don't have the ability to know myself, so who is to blame? I cry if I don't drink. What can I do? Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng also stood aside to testify. That's right, my wife even said she wouldn't drink anymore. Drinking too much will harm your health, but Mom, you still force your wife to drink. That's right, Mom said, if my wife doesn't drink, she won't be treated as a family member. Your wife doesn't dare not drink. Hearing what the two boys said, Hian said very kindly, haha, I see, Xiaoxiu, you are really good at it. But he was a little disappointed because he didn't see it with his own eyes. Mei Shui glared at Hian's, shut up. Mei Shui, who was a little embarrassed, never mentioned drinking again. That night, Hians had another full meal, and he left the village before dawn the next day. However, during dinner, he found out that his wife was causing trouble, and he was helpless. She is so powerful, how can he lag behind? It seems that what was said last time should also be implemented. After finishing all the work at home, Mei Shui started living her own life again. Xiaobai, do you want to leave here with us this time? Thinking of leaving this year, Mei Shui asked Xiaobai reluctantly. She had a feeling that this time away might take longer than ever. Xiaobai raised his little dog head and said, Main, I'll go with you, but you can put a few red snakes on the back mountain and let them help look after the house. It can't stay away from its owner for too long. That's good, but do you want to go to the mountain to get some of the things you want this time? Mei Shui was a little worried about the things on Yunwu Mountain. Master, I have nothing to bring. Besides, my things are all in the space, and there is nothing left on the mountain, Ziobai said with a vigilant look. Seeing its defensive look, Mei Shui was speechless. The things on your mountain are in my space, okay. Stingy dog. After rolling her eyes, Mei Shui turned around and walked down the mountain. It's April in the blink of an eye. This time, almost all the vegetables that were planted earlier in the village have been harvested, and the work in the fields has begun to pick up. For example, seedling transplanting. There are many people planting their seeds this year, and Mei Shui no longer worries about not having good rice to eat in the future. Hands of his own rice are no longer afraid of being noticed. And juniper fry have also begun to be transported to the village. Xiaobai, do you think I should add some spatial water to these fish? When planting the rice seedlings, Mei Shui brought the children over to experience it in person. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 340. Chapter 340, New varieties are produced. They are all 4 years old this year, and they can slowly start to experience many things. No need, Master, after you have added space water here every day for the past few years, the water and soil here have changed a long time ago. A trace of white mist appeared in Xiaobai's eyes. Looking at this, he was a little envious of the creatures in the field. Unfortunately, it can no longer absorb the white mist. How do you say it? She only knew that the land in the mountains behind her home was transforming into a spiritual field, but here, she didn't dare to think about it. Of course, she doesn't know or understand either. Because you have been increasing space water for a long time, with your farmland as the boundary going down, the water and soil in this stream have been degraded. Of course, there is a difference in severity. Xiaobai began to explain to his master. After listening, Mei Shui was speechless. According to what you said, I can produce empty quality rice and items without adding space water in the future. It can be said that this is good news. Xiaobai nodded. Yes, Master, so the ecosystem here will not change much in the 3 to 5 years since you left. Mei Shui really underestimated the power of water in her own space. Fortunately, the space water does not have the effect of resurrecting the dead, otherwise she would not even dare to use it at all. Then I'll rest assured, Xiaobai, I'll increase it in large quantities this year to avoid problems in the future. After saying that, Mei Shui started to take action. This time she not only added spatial water to her field, but also added a lot of water around the creek. So, on this day, everyone invited by the He family had a good harvest. Whether it's eels or small fish from the creek, etc., they all have to be packed home in buckets. Fortunately, everyone knows how to measure and don't accept anything too small. This time it was not He-Ans but another person who came to bring vegetables and poultry. Mei Shui felt a little disappointed about this. No matter, she still had things to be busy with, she put it aside after being disappointed for a while. Brother Du, are your fry coming soon? Do you think it's ready for planting in the fields now? After Mei Shui arrived, she found juniper where Mr. Hua used to live. Ever since the old men left, the courtyard in the back mountain has become empty. But the first person to come was Juniper, and Uncle Shen had to wait until the vegetables were ripe before he could come. There is no other way. He plans to use this place as an experimental base this time, and he has to go up and make reports, etc., which is a lot of trouble. Uncle Li's words were similar. Hejiakan was mountainous and the soil was good. He wanted to use this place as a base, but he didn't know if his superiors would approve it, so he went back to Kyoto directly. Yes, just these 2 days. In fact, you can buy ordinary carp and crucian carp. Why do you want me to find it for you? Juniper thought about this for a long time but could not figure it out. The fry in the laboratory are similar to those outside, there is no difference. I was afraid that she wouldn't believe it, so I added another sentence. It's okay, I just want to see if there is any difference. If there is no difference, we can prepare the fry ourselves next time. Mei Shui really just wanted to give it a try. That's good, but I think your medicinal fish is too troublesome to raise and not cost effective. The medicinal value is good, but who can ordinary people afford it? He tried it. It does taste very good and has medicinal effects, but it is also wasteful and expensive, so it is not affordable for ordinary people. Mei Shui nodded and agreed, I know, this is just for my own consumption. I had no intention of selling it, but I didn't expect that many people could afford it in the end. I have to say that this is a complete mistake. Now whether it is Boss GN or Public Security Gu, they are selling this fish in new ways. It has nothing to do with my family background, I really can't afford this fish. Of course, now that she is becoming more and more mature in practicing medicine, she is wasting less and less medicinal power. Those medicinal fish also have to find a way to feed them. After waiting for a few more days, the juniper fry arrived, and the village was immediately alarmed. There were several families who raised rice flour fish with Mei Shui. As soon as they heard that the fry were coming, they ran over one by one. The one running at the front was the village chief. Xiaoxiu, are the fish fry here? The village chief may have been running too fast and was out of breath. Well, Uncle Village Chief, please slow down for a moment, these fish can't escape, Mei Shui said with a teasing smile on her face. That's right, Village Chief, what are you in a hurry for? We're not going to rob you. Some people who came to watch the excitement joked about the village chief. Go, 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 what do you know? These fish are good things. Boss Jian called me and said he wants this fish for 5 yuan a pound. The village chief sneered at the people around him, but they didn't respond. Forgot to show off again. When everyone heard this, everyone was shocked and asked, Village chief, this is no joke. They thought it was the village chief who came to speak for Xiaoxiu. That's right, if the fish eat up all the rice seedlings, the whole year's harvest will be gone. Farmers still regard food as their first priority. Believe it or not, if you don't believe it, pull me down. Go away and don't block my way. The village chief, who had calmed down a little, immediately pushed the people around him away. Master Du, why don't you go to my house first? His house is right by the stream, so there is no need to go into the mountains. Jin Song glanced at Mei Shui and nodded in agreement after seeing that she had no objection. Okay, then please ask the village chief to lead the way. Following the car was an assistant of Jun Song, who looked to be only in his 20s and had a childish look on his face. But the excitement on his face was unstoppable. It can be seen that they failed a lot when trying to push this rice flour fish. Looking at the seedlings that had just taken root, the village chief actually felt uncertain. But he couldn't let out the air at this time, put it out with a command. Bags of fry were put into the paddy field. In the turbid paddy fields, small fish fry disappeared as soon as they entered. Okay, next household. Juniper's face was full of excitement after seeing the fry entering the water. Fortunately, there aren't many here and there aren't many fields, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get through a whole day. Lastly, we went to Meixiu's family's field. After a busy day, the village chief invited Jun Song and his assistant to have dinner. He originally wanted to invite Mei Shui, but Mei Shui was not happy. She rarely goes to other people's homes to eat, except for wine banquets. Even if it is Aunt Zillion and her family, she rarely goes there. But today, Aunt Zillion and her family also put fish fry in their fields. No, he was also called by the village chief. At home, Mei Shui was eating the dinner prepared by her grandma, and another thing fell on her mind. Grandma, after we take the lead in the new variety this time, let Xiao Yi do the rest. Mei Shui chatted with her grandma. Grandma, he was very impressed by Xiao Yi and Anyang. Xiao Wei can do it, it would be better if Anyang is at home. Seeing her grandma like this, Mei Shui still didn't understand. I'm afraid he won't be able to come back, but he should come back during the Chinese New Year, and Yang is a good boy after all. However, she is not young anymore, and Aunt Yang is starting to get anxious. After dinner, Mei Shui helped Xiaopeng and others take a bath and then went upstairs to sleep. It's not a good day to have a holiday, I'm exhausted. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 341. Chapter 341, Great Harvest. At this time, Xiaobai also came to Mei Shui's bed. Master, let's find the source of the stream. Sometimes Xiaobai felt that in order to have a better life in the future, it is better to find the source of the water. It will also save a lot of trouble. Why? Mei Shui was confused. Isn't the water source deep in the mountains? How long does it take to come back? She might not be able to leave now. It's better to let me go. Xiaobai also knew what his master was thinking. Now that he had two young masters, he couldn't just leave if he wanted to. You, Mei Shui was a little doubtful. Aren't you afraid of being eaten by the wild beasts in the mountains? The mountains are different from Yunwu Mountain. He, master, you underestimate me. After all, I am also Xiao Yu serious, and not everyone can bully me, Xiao Bai said with a proud look on his face. Don't mention it. Mei Shui really forgot what breed it was and always thought it was a dog. Okay, how long will it take for you to come back? If possible, she would like to go with her. She knew why Xiaobai was looking for the source, and it was also for her. Now that Hejiakan is slowly appearing in the eyes of others, many unreasonable things cannot be explained clearly in a few words. What it has to do is to help itself eliminate hidden dangers. Master, go to the bottom of the spiritual spring and help me find a piece of spiritual crystal. Then I will place the spiritual crystal on the water source. This way, I won't worry about others discovering the difference between our family. Anyway, those things are under the jurisdiction of heaven and their effect is really not that big. The temptation to animals is there, but the effect is really not strong. Okay. After a while, Mei Shui found a piece of spiritual crystal from the bottom of the spiritual spring, 2 pieces in total. One piece is big and the other is small. Of course, Xiaobai took the small piece. This piece is enough for this place to last 100 years. That night, Xiaobai left his house and walked up the creek. Where he ended up is unknown. May has gone by in a blink of an eye, and in June the child's face changes at every turn. It doesn't matter if it rains for 2 days, the vegetables in the field will be almost mature once the rain is over, but I didn't expect that the maturity period of these vegetables will be shorter than those grown before. Grandma, he sighed as she looked at the sky outside. No, but Grandma, what price should we sell this dish at? This is what Mei Shui is most worried about now. Oh, of course the more expensive the better, Grandma, he said without thinking. Mei Shui thought, these dishes are meant for everyone to eat. If they are too expensive, it will be difficult for Uncle Shen to deal with them. They all serve the country and the people, so she can't be too salty. Well, let's do this. The same dish is $1 more expensive than what we used to have. It has to be more expensive. If it's not more expensive, who in the village will be willing to grow it? It will be difficult to promote it. That's no problem. Mei Shui thought the price was quite reasonable. As soon as the rain in June stopped, the creek began its flood season. During the 1-week flood period, Mei Shui was very worried about Xiaobai and didn't know how she was doing now. What should I do if I am washed down by floods? Mei Shui was worried about everything, but she seemed to have completely forgotten that she could communicate with Xiaobai's consciousness. As soon as the flood season is over, the mid-June inquiry has passed. During the flood season, some of Mei Shui's family's fields were also destroyed, and presumably a lot of fish fry also escaped. Grandma, the vegetable picker is here. I'll ask Uncle Jianbei to come over and ask him to invite more people to pick vegetables. Don't block people and cars in the village. Mei Shui was afraid of raining again. Grandma, he pulled Xiaopeng and the others. Okay, you go ahead. Don't let these two boys go out today. I'll leave them all to you, Grandpa Mew. Today is very busy, and I really don't have time at home to keep an eye on them. Madam, my brother and I are very good, we just don't want to leave. Seeing his wife not believing in him, Xiaopeng said sadly. Mei Shui glanced at them. Actually, I don't believe them either, so I'll send it over so they can memorize the medical books. After saying that, Mei Shui waved and said goodbye to them. Looking at their mother's back, they felt that something sad was coming. Medical books, ugh, they don't want to memorize them. They are not brothers, so how can they memorize them? Okay, hurry up, pack up with me and go to your MRS Mew's house. What Mei Shui didn't expect was that Jianxiang would be the one to bring food this time. When they arrived at the creek, Mei Shui was shocked to see Jianxiang surrounded by villagers. Looking at him, who looked a little embarrassed, Mei Shui smiled unkindly. Hey, you still have the nerve to laugh? Jianxiang finally broke away and saw Mei Shui watching his joke. Mei Shui put away her smile and said, I'm not smiling, she said seriously. Had he not seen it with his own eyes, he would have believed her evil. Humph, she has the same virtue as ants. He glared at her unconvinced. Let's go, take me to see the new species. He came here this time just for the new species. Of course, new varieties are good, but the vegetables we used to eat are not bad either. You're in such a hurry, haven't you seen that they are all waiting to fall in love with you? Mei Shui is also a bad person. Come, leave quickly. After saying that, Jianxiang and others walked directly to the mountain without waiting for Mei Shui. No one blamed him and followed them one by one. Through. When we came to the vegetable field, Xiao Yi had been waiting here for a long time. Not only him, but also several of his good partners were waiting for this day. Not only will you get wages, but you may also be able to get some new varieties to eat at home. The impact was not that big at the foot of the mountain, but in the vegetable fields, the impact was huge. Oh my God, this is a new variety, how come the output is so large? That's right, look, these peppers are actually bigger than the ones we grew, and the yield is much greater. Look at this eggplant. Look, is this a tomato? Impossible, why are they so small? Do you like tomatoes that are so small? After seeing the vegetables in the vegetable field, everyone was surprised. Some they had never seen before, and some they had never seen so big. Anyway, everything is there. However, when they heard the price, everyone regretted it. If they had known this, they might as well have grown these. Not only was the price high, but the yield was also higher than usual. Please help me pick the ones that are not ripe or are small in size. Please don't pick them, we will pick them in 2 batches. Jianxiang was also very happy. The thoughts in his mind became more and more substantial. Don't worry, Boss Jian, we are all very skilled. All of them are people invited by He Jianbei and Xiao Yi, and their character must be guaranteed. As soon as the work started, those who came to watch the excitement also joined in. However, they did not dare to go to the vegetable field without Mei Shui's consent. Remember to vote. Please vote for recommendations and monthly votes. End of this chapter.